Most people don't realize how many normal foods send blood sugar through the roof. Here are the ones you need to know and what actually happens when you eat them. White bread. It's made from refined flour, which means almost all the fiber has been removed. Without fiber, your body breaks it down incredibly fast, and blood sugar rises almost immediately after eating. A single slice can hit your system like pure sugar, and most people eat 2 or 3 at a time without thinking twice. The glycemic index of white bread is actually comparable to table sugar, which surprises a lot of people. If you're going to eat bread, choose whole grain options with visible seeds or intact grains, which slow digestion enough to make a real difference. But the default white sandwich bread you find at most supermarkets, it's one of the fastest ways to spike your glucose without even realizing it. White rice. A staple in many diets around the world, but nutritionally, it's similar to white bread, refined, low in fiber, and digested quickly. The starch in white rice converts to glucose rapidly in your bloodstream. A standard cup of cooked white rice can push glucose levels significantly higher within 30 to 45 minutes of eating. Jasmine rice is especially fast. If rice is part of your routine, cooling it after cooking can slightly reduce its glycemic impact due to resistant starch formation. Brown rice or cauliflower rice are slower alternatives worth considering. The issue isn't rice itself, it's the speed at which refined carbohydrates move through your system with nothing to slow them down. Flavored yogurt. It's marketed as a health food, and plain yogurt genuinely is, but the flavored versions, strawberry, peach, vanilla, often contain as much sugar as a dessert. Some small containers pack 20 to 26 grams of added sugar, which hits the bloodstream fast because it's already in liquid or semi-liquid form. The protein in yogurt helps a little, but it's not enough to offset that sugar load for most people. Reading the label matters here more than almost anywhere else. If you enjoy yogurt, choose plain Greek yogurt and add your own fruit. You get the protein benefit without the blood sugar spike that flavored versions almost always cause. Fruit juice. Whole fruit contains fiber, which slows sugar absorption. Juice removes that fiber entirely. What's left is essentially concentrated fruit sugar in liquid form, fructose, and glucose, with nothing to slow them down. A glass of orange juice can have as much sugar as a can of soda, and it hits the bloodstream at similar speed. Even juices labeled no added sugar or 100% natural still cause significant glucose spikes because the problem is the absence of fiber, not whether sugar was added. Eating a whole orange is a completely different metabolic experience than drinking its juice. If you want fruit, eat it whole. If you're thirsty, water is always the better option for blood sugar stability. Breakfast cereals. Even the ones that don't taste particularly sweet. Many popular cereals, including Corn Flakes, Rice Puffs, and Bran Flakes, have high glycemic indexes because of how processed the grains are. The puffing and flaking process used in manufacturing breaks down the grain structure, making it even easier for your body to convert it into glucose fast. Add milk and a banana, and you've built a high glycemic breakfast before 8 a.m. The whole grain label can be misleading too. A cereal can be technically whole grain and still spike blood sugar quickly if it's heavily processed. Oat steel, cut, not instant, are one of the few breakfast grains with a meaningfully lower glycemic response. Crackers and rice cakes. Often eaten as a light snack, but nutritionally, they behave a lot like white bread. Most crackers are made from refined flour with very little fiber or protein. Rice cakes are almost entirely starch. Both digest quickly, raise blood sugar fast, and leave you hungry again within an hour, which often leads to eating more. They feel harmless because they're small and not sweet. But sweetness isn't what determines a food's effect on blood sugar. Carbohydrate density and fiber content are what matter. If you need a snack, pairing crackers with protein or healthy fat, like nut butter or cheese, slows absorption somewhat. But on their own, they're not as neutral as people assume. Dried fruit? It looks like a small, healthy snack. The problem is that drying removes water, but concentrates the sugar. A handful of raisins, dried mango, or dates delivers a significant sugar load in a very small volume. often 20 to 30 grams of sugar in just a few tablespoons. Because it's compact and chewy, it's also easy to overeat without noticing. Dried fruit isn't inherently bad, but portions matter enormously. A few pieces can quickly become a high-sugar snack. Dates in particular have a very high natural sugar content. If you enjoy dried fruit, treat it more like a condiment than a snack. Use small amounts alongside foods with fiber, protein, or fat to slow how fast that sugar moves into your bloodstream. Sweetened coffee drinks. A plain black coffee has essentially no effect on blood sugar. But the drinks most people actually order flavored lattes, frappuccinos, caramel macchiatos, oat milk cappuccinos with syrup can contain 30 to 60 grams of sugar. Depending on size and customization, the milk adds more carbohydrates on top. Many people consume these daily without considering them food, which means the blood sugar impact goes unnoticed. Even drinks that seem like small indulgences, a medium vanilla latte can spike glucose significantly, especially when consumed without food. If you enjoy coffee, keeping it simple is the best approach. Add cinnamon instead of syrup, and choose unsweetened milk options if you want to minimize the glycemic effect. Sports drinks. Designed for endurance athletes replacing electrolytes during prolonged exercise. They contain significant amounts of glucose and sometimes fructose by design to fuel performance fast. The problem is that most people consuming them aren't running marathons. Drinking a sports drink while sitting at a desk or after a 30-minute gym session delivers a sugar load your body doesn't need at that moment. The electrolyte benefit doesn't offset the blood sugar impact for the average person. Water handles hydration for most daily activity. If you genuinely exercise intensely for over an hour, the sugar serves a purpose. Otherwise, sports drinks function more like flavored sugar water. Effective for athletes, counterproductive for everyone else. Instant oatmeal. Regular oats, steel, cut, or rolled, are one of the better breakfast choices for blood sugar. Instant oatmeal is a different product. It's pre-cooked and dried, which breaks down the oat structure and makes it digest much faster. The flavored varieties add even more sugar on top. What looks like a healthy breakfast choice can actually spike glucose almost as fast as a bowl of cereal when it's the instant, sweetened version. The difference between instant and rolled oats isn't just processing speed, it's how your body responds to them. If oatmeal is part of your morning, rolled or steel-cut oats cooked in water or plain milk give you the blood sugar benefit the instant version simply doesn't. White potatoes. Potatoes are a whole food, naturally rich in potassium and vitamins. But they're also very high in starch, and when cooked and eaten hot, they digest extremely quickly. Mashed potatoes in particular have one of the highest glycemic indexes of any common food comparable to white bread. Baked potatoes aren't far behind. The way you prepare and eat them matters. Adding fat, protein, or cooling them before eating lowers their glycemic impact. But a plain portion of mashed or baked potato eaten on its own will raise blood sugar significantly. Sweet potatoes have a lower glycemic index and more fiber, which makes them a more stable option. It's not about avoiding potatoes entirely, it's understanding how they behave once they're in your system. Candy and sweets. The most obvious item on this list, but worth including because people often underestimate the speed and scale of the spike. Candy is essentially pure sugar in compact form, with no fiber, protein, or fat to slow absorption. Glucose enters the bloodstream within minutes, triggering a sharp insulin response. What follows is often a crash that leads to more cravings. The pattern is even small amounts of high-sugar candy eaten on an empty stomach can cause significant blood sugar fluctuation. Dark chocolate with high cocoa content is a meaningfully different option. The fat and lower sugar content slow absorption considerably. But standard candy gummies and milk chocolate work almost identically to eating straight sugar as far as your bloodstream is concerned. If you want a complete guide with the best foods organized to stabilize your blood sugar and support your health goals, check the ebook linked in the description. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.